So, Lucas, can we have a little introduction of yours?
Yes, sure. My name is Łukasz Chodyła. I graduated with a master's degree in computer science from the West Pomeranian Institute of Technology in Poland. And for the last 8 years, I've been working as a software engineer and researcher. My work have been mostly related to human-computer interfaces, avionics, and digital signage industry. And here I'm representing the Platforma Biznesu company, and I hope you will all enjoy my presentation today.
Yeah, sure, we will. Okay, so I just request all of you to please keep your cameras on.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm ready.
Yeah. Hello, good morning, Rafai.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing?
Recovering from COVID.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So could we have a little introduction of yours?
Yeah. So I'm an Indonesian student who went to RAN from a double degree program. It's my final year, and yeah, I hope this session will be good and very beneficial for us.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. Triandra, good morning. Hi.
Hi there, good morning.
So how are you doing?
Oh, I'm well, I'm good, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing good too. Can we have a brief introduction of yours?
Yes, okay, so my name is Tiandra Liani. I'm from Bandung Institute of Technology, located in Indonesia. And I hope we'll have a great session in this international conference. And I'm expecting to learn a lot from all the presenters.
Yeah, sure. Okay, good morning, Artemis.
Hello, good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good, and how about you?
I'm good too. So can you just introduce yourself to all of us?
Okay, hi, my name's Artemis Latifia, but you can call me Temi for short. I come from Indonesia. I go to the same school as Tiandra and Rafli, Bandung Institute of Technology, and I really hope that this conference will be beneficial for all of us attending.
Yeah, yes, it is going to be, and we are also very happy that we have colleagues together. 3 of you are from the same school, right? Yeah, good.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Pavani. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
So can we have a little introduction of yours?
I'm glad to be here. My name is Pavani. I am currently studying for a master's degree in the field of chemical engineering at King Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi, from Thailand.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think we can begin with the conference now. Okay, let's begin with the conference. Okay, welcome to Eurasia Research International Conference. Now, today we have participants from 7 countries around the world. That is Germany, Indonesia, Poland, New Zealand, France, Thailand, India. We are broadcasting this conference on Facebook Live on multiple pages of Eurasia Research. The links for the live sessions are shared in the chat box. Eurasia Research. Please allow me a moment to introduce Eurasia Research in a nutshell. With over than 1 million satisfied members and associates spread across the globe, Eurasia Research is a scholarly association who have been working for nearly a decade. Eurasia Research has organized several successful international conferences, workshops, and training programs at various reputed institutions and grand venues. Eurasia has been tirelessly working for research world and have not stopped their endeavors even during COVID era and have presented research community with online platform which was safe and convenient method to continue their passion. We are an international community of researchers, practitioners, students, and educationists who aim to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals, encourage intellectual development, and to create opportunities for networking and collaboration. These objectives are achieved through academic networking, meeting conferences, workshops, projects, research publications, academic awards, and scholarships. We provide scholarship to deserving candidates, to promote student and research scholars, to participate in the international conference. Young Researcher Scholarship is provided in the form of full registration fee waiver. We have vast experience of publishing papers for more than 7 years. Our associated journals publish original papers, review papers, conceptual framework, analytical and simulation models, case studies, empirical research, technical notes, and book reviews. We cater to more than 30 plus teams in the area of teaching and education and have registered ISSN and have following renowned indexing, Google Scholar, Crosscheck, Authenticate, Crossref, the Keeper Registry, Scribd, Portico, Rode, Directory of Open Access Scholarly Resources, OAI, PMH Registered Data Provider, PKP Index. We will soon be applying for Scopus 2. We have a wide network of 100 plus internationally acclaimed keynotes across the globe who share their knowledge and guidance with our participants with open hands. We have a large number of committee members and advisors who support us and guide us through their expert opinions and decision-making capabilities. We couldn't have thought of reaching here without them. We also encourage our participants to connect with more than 15,000 plus followers on our social media platforms where they can share their research and interests, join our Facebook group, and be a part of the discussions by the researchers and academicians. We also have several collaborations with universities, colleges, and institutes to better serve our interested and like-minded intellectuals. With great enthusiasm and pride, we would like to announce our latest project, which is the Terra Fellow Program in Education. The program offers an opportunity to learn the key concepts and latest trends in the teaching industry from the academic stalwarts. We have launched free of cost for members of the Teaching and Education Summit for all researchers, practitioners, students, and educationists. We would like to share some of our past participants' experience with you. Thank you for your patience and valuable time. Moving forward with the conference. Hi, I'm Abhilasha, your today's conference host. Starting with our STRA president, Dr. Ludmila Greisen, full professor, Information Systems Department, Simon Kuznets, Kharkiv National University of Economic, Kharkiv, Ukraine. Let's see her video.
Hello to everybody. My name is Ludmila Greisen, and I'm happy to greet all the participants of the Science and Technical Research Association. It's a great honor for me to take up the position of the president of association. A few words about myself. I earned master's degree in applied mathematics. Also, I earned PhD and postdoctoral degree in pedagogical science. Currently, I'm working as a full professor of Information System Department, Simon Kuznets National University of Economics, Kharkiv City, Ukraine. During the last 3 years, I have been actively working within the association. I was invited as a keynote speaker at different conferences where I shared the results of my research in the sphere of information technologies in education. Science and Technical Research Association aims to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals to encourage intellectual development, to create opportunities for networking and collaboration. These aims are achieved through academic networking, meetings, conferences, workshops, projects, and etc. So I would be happy if the current and newcoming members of association and all of us together took the opportunity to go on their investigations, to share their research and the results of their research on the platform of the association to make our world a better place to live. So see you later in our forthcoming event. Follow up in the sites and in Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rudmila, for your lovely presentation and wonderful words. Let's move towards the conference now. Next, we have our eminent speaker, Dr. Marisa Braza Ocampo, PhD, Fukushima Kaikon University, Fukushima City, Japan. Let's see her video presentation.
Good day, everyone. I'm Dr. Marisa Ocampo, and I'm a 100% Filipino physically. You know, look at my feature. I'm 100% Filipino and 90% Filipino mentally, but 100% Japanese when it comes to document. Because I'm now a naturalized Japanese. Online conferences are good because financially we can save money. Yeah, so instead of spending $100 or about $1,000 going to that particular place, we could save them. Now we could save this kind of money and also safer for us, especially during this period of pandemic period. And then so money, and then also time. We can save time now. So instead of attending the conference for a week, then we can just only sit in our office and have this and wait for the time, and then you are there now. And another advantage, I think, is that you can, so just like Eurasia, you are giving all the participants to record now. So pre-recording now. So pre-recording. So which is actually good in a way, because you can practice and you can minimize mistakes, especially when you really want other listeners to learn about your research now. And then also, whereas the disadvantage, of course, the disadvantage of online conferences, I found it quite sad in a way, because we cannot meet people and we cannot, we can have this actual human-to-human conversation. Yeah, because we cannot even feel the energy now. So the energy of the particular person we're having a conversation now, just like us now. I can see you, but I cannot, it's incomplete because we are both human, but we are robots now. So that is the disadvantage, actually, because I am more pro human now, and getting energies from other people. So that is, I think, the disadvantage. Eurasia is, it is not limited to the topics of the participants. It is something like all in one box now, whereas in other conferences, so they're only focusing in one topic now, so which is very limited. But Eurasia conference is not now, so they can join any topics they have, and any research they want to share with the participants are fine. So which is really great. And that is the advantage, and that is the beauty of Eurasia. Well, the first time I attended the Eurasia was in Singapore. Yes, Singapore now. And when I attended one, I felt that Eurasia group was a kind of family to me. Yeah, because the number of the participants were not that big. So I felt that this is a kind of conference, because we had this kind of, a chance to talk to each other now. So it is not with the organizer, but also with the participants. I also had some experiences attending big conferences. Hundreds of participants were there, but after the presentation, no interaction with them. So it was actually kind of sad. And yeah, so that was actually, I found in Eurasia, the smaller the group is, the better, I think, if you really want to, to develop, so to develop your connection with other researchers. I hope that someday we will be able to, to have this chance again. And yeah, I will recommend this Eurasia. And very, very, how do you call it? So you're organized in a way. You are organized, which is I love. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marisa, for your wonderful presentation and words. And I would request all of you to please keep your cameras on. We are moving forward with the conference. Next, we have our eminent speaker, Dr. Samanthi Korazinge, Academic Director, Statistical Consultant, Institute of Mathematics and Management, Sri Lanka. Let's see her video.
I am Dr. Samanthi Korazinge. I would introduce myself as a mathematician, as an artist. So I had been a lecturer for about 25 years and a statistical consultant for more than 2 decades. And at the moment, I am the statistical consultant and academic director of the Institute of Mathematics and Management, Sri Lanka. If I talk about my contact with the Eurasia Research, my first keynote speech was in Singapore. It's a physical contact. Then my last one is in Australia, Melbourne, 2020, just before the border closes. It is in 2020 March, as I remember. Yeah, so just before the border closes. So after that, I mean, we had no other option. So I really appreciate the Eurasia Research and other organizations taking this initiative to conduct online sessions. Otherwise, we don't know when the borders will be open and we will be able to move together. So like earlier, so until then, we don't need to take a break. So online sessions are really good motivation for the researchers to be together and continue their work. But as I said earlier, we have to move whatever happened. Still, physical conferences are more interesting. The main reason is like we meet people, we greet people, and that kind of interaction. We are humans, no? So social animal need human interaction. That part is missing, but we have to adapt to the something is better than nothing philosophy. Eurasia Research, as I said, over the last few years, I have been with you. I have addressed many of your forums as a keynote speaker. So one thing I really like is whatever happens in the world, you are not stopping your work. That means you are determined to do something. For some people, when something happens, like especially the government universities, okay, now is a pandemic, so we can't do anything. So that is not your motivation. So I must thank Professor Rola Charles and your team for not stopping your work. Whatever happened, you are going on. And that Melbourne conference is a very good example. About 40 or 50 participants have registered, but that time also some travel restrictions were there. Only 5 or 6 could attend the conference. But your agent was there and he conducted the session from morning to evening without any problem. The number of participants was not a matter. So you promised to do something, because as an experienced person with these conferences all over the world, I know some private organizations, they get the money, they get the papers. Some, of course, they do publications, but they do not conduct the conferences, saying that they don't have sufficient participants. That means they are trying to cut down the cost for meals and the hotel, whole booking and things. But Eurasia Research is not like that. I said the very good example, 4 or 5 participants, still you conducted the session. That was in Victoria University Conference Center, Melbourne City. So it's a costly place, but you conducted it. That is your spirit. So, I mean, you keep your word. Okay. See you another day. Bye.
Bye. Hope to see you in our upcoming conferences. Thank you.
Of course. Definitely.
Dr. Kunara Singh, for your wonderful words. Let's move towards the conference. So our today's conference schedule is session 1 would be keynote talk, session 2, team activity and photo session, session 3, technical talk. Rename your Zoom account with your full name in English. This will help us to record your presence. You may ask your questions related to the presentation in the chat section while the presentations are going on. All the certificates, receipts, and proceedings will be sent to the participants within a week on their mail IDs. Next is moving ahead with the publication process. The publication process starts once the registration process is complete. The author needs to send their papers, consent forms, and reviewer details on the email ID convener@eurasiaresearch.info. The review reports will be sent to the author once the review process is over. The final stage of publication starts after receiving the revised papers from the authors. Please note that the publication process takes around 50 days after the conference dates if all the editorial guidelines are followed within the given deadlines. Next, we have a keynote speaker, Dr. Sergei Golash, University of Münster, Germany. His topic is distributed software applications based on mobile cloud and software-defined networks. Sergei Golash is a full professor of computer science at the University of Münster since 2003. Earlier, he was an associate professor at the Technical University of Berlin, assistant professor at the University of Passau, and Humboldt Research Fellow at the Technical University of Munich, all in Germany. Professor Golash has more than 200 peer-reviewed publications in renowned international books, journals, and conferences. He was the principal investigator in several international research and development projects in the field of software for parallel distributed grid and cloud systems and networking, funded by the European Community and by German national bodies. Let's see his video.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to deliver you a keynote speech today, which will be quite short, but I will give you just a flavor of what my research group is doing. So first of all, about our university. It's one of the biggest universities in Germany, in the city of Münster. And my research group, it makes research on parallel and distributed systems, including distributed systems and clouds, internet-based applications, networking, multi and many core systems, and high-level parallel programming. And we have been involved in many national and international research projects. So if you get interest in one of these topics, then you can talk to me and we can discuss maybe a possible cooperation in the future. Our topic today are real-time online interactive applications, or ROIA. And these applications include, for example, online computer games, interactive e-learning, but also many kinds of training applications and so on. And the main characteristics and also the main challenges of these kind of applications are huge number of concurrent users, very high update rates of the computations, short response times, you see, usually under 1 second, which means that the application reacts almost immediately to user actions, and last but not least, variable load of users, which is dependent on the daytime. So how are these applications developed currently? They sit usually on top of a service infrastructure, and they consist of application processes. And these application processes are programmed using usually C++ or some other high-performance programming language. And the main problem with this development currently is that all these 4 points, application logic, distribution management, network communication, monitoring and controlling, everything is done from scratch for each new application. And you see that we have several application processes. It means that usually these applications, like, for example, modern computer games, online games, they work simultaneously on several machines because one computer is not enough to provide enough performance. And our framework developed in my group, which is called RTF, Real-Time Framework, it liberates the developers from these difficult tasks which are shown here. And how we do it? Now we change this picture a bit, and you see that now the framework is responsible for these three issues, and only one issue, application logic, remains the responsibility of the human programmer. The remaining tasks are done by the framework automatically. And now I will show you a short video with an example application, and you see here several robots, and these robots are moving and they are shooting at each other, and if met they are burning, if shoot they are burning, and then each user is responsible for one robot, and if you have more and more users, then you have more and more robots, and the load on the computers in the network of course rises, and the performance of one computer becomes just not sufficient for this load. And you see here that if there are many robots, then their movements are not smooth anymore. And that's why we can automatically add computers using the framework, and also we can then dispose computers if they are not needed anymore. So we have here a seamless experience using our framework. And now we also bring these kinds of applications to the clouds. So you know that clouds have a lot of advantages also for this kind of applications. For example, we can benefit from customized systems, from high scalability, from pay-per-use. It means we pay only for those resources which we really use, and we don't pay for a computer which just stands without being used, which is idle. And the next point of interest for us is a load balancing in such a system. We have several possible load balancing actions, and we have developed this decision diagram which describes how we decide which of these four load balancing actions is really executed. And we decided by checking particular conditions in these nodes, and depending on if this condition is true or false, we go left or right, and in this way we move in this decision diagram, and ultimately we come either with an acting application or with migrating users and so on. Also, the next interesting topic here are software-defined networks. It's a hot topic today in networking, and we use this new emerging kind of networks for our distributed applications. The idea of software-defined networks is that if you have, for example, here a client, and here you have a server, and they are connected by this network with routers, and then if this connection in the network is overloaded, so it's too slow, it gets congested, then the SDN controller, it's a central entity in the network. It observes this bad situation, and it contacts the routers in the network, and it adapts the network to this situation, such that, for example, instead of this connection, we go this connection, which is probably faster, and so we avoid the congestion in the network. So this is the idea. And so now we can also look at a small demonstration, which is based on the demonstration I showed you already with the game with robots, you remember, which were burning and shooting. And now we have this situation with a client with several servers, and these clients are responsible for the robots, and we have here this connection, and this connection becomes red. It means it's overloaded. Then the SDN controller will see this situation, for example, the situation when the movements are not smooth, and it will reroute the messages instead of this route, instead of this path, along this new green path. And in this way, it will achieve that the movements of the clients, the movements of the avatars in our game will become smooth, and the user, the gamer, will become happy with the quality of service. And we have done a lot of experiments on that, and here you see the results of one of such experiments. What we have here a rising number of clients, so we have the situation that more and more clients are joining the application, and we have the rising CPU load. You see here it reaches 100% by about of 200 clients. It means that the system is very highly loaded. And we have two curves here. We look first on the blue curve, which is the curve of the RT, response time, for so-called normal clients. These are clients who use just the original network without managing it with software-defined controller. And you see here that the more clients we have, the stronger our blue curve is rising, and it means that the response time is rising. And you remember, the response time was to be under 1 second, and here it's of course much higher, and it means that the game becomes unplayable for the gamers, for these normal clients. But if we have premium clients who are ready to pay some money, for example, for managing the network, and we do manage the network using the SDN controller, then we see that in this green curve, we don't have this very steep rise, but it's rising, but only slowly. It means that we have a good response time, we have a good quality of service, and we achieve a better experience for the gamers, for the users of our application. This is the idea of our approach here. So here you see the final slide. Thank you very much. And if you are interested, I will be happy to address and answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation, Doctor. Let's move towards the next theme activity. Let's proceed towards a team building activity. Sometimes we miss the opportunity of connection and linkage with the fellow participants of the conference. This team activity is to encourage interaction among all the participants. One by one, we'll share the view and solutions on the topic of the discussion, and also we'll be conducting a photo session during the same. Let's see the video. And the topic of our video is how miscommunication happens and how to avoid it. Let's see the video.
Have you ever talked with a friend about a problem, only to realize that he just doesn't seem to grasp why the issue is so important to you? Have you ever presented an idea to a group, and it's met with utter confusion? Or maybe you've been in an argument when the other person suddenly accuses you of not listening to what they're saying at all. What's going on here? The answer is miscommunication, and in some form or another, we've all experienced it. It can lead to confusion, animosity, misunderstanding, or even crashing a multi-million-dollar probe into the surface of Mars. The fact is, even when face-to-face with another person, in the very same room, and speaking the same language, human communication is incredibly complex. But the good news is that a basic understanding of what happens when we communicate can help us prevent miscommunication. For decades, researchers have asked what happens when we communicate. One interpretation, called the transmission model, views communication as a message that moves directly from one person to another, similar to someone tossing a ball and walking away. But in reality, this simplistic model doesn't account for communication's complexity. Enter the transactional model, which acknowledges the many added challenges of communicating. With this model, it's more accurate to think of communication between people as a game of catch. As we communicate our message, we receive feedback from the other party. Through the transaction, we create meaning together. But from this exchange, further complications arise. It's not like the Star Trek universe, where some characters can Vulcan mind meld, fully sharing thoughts and feelings. As humans, we can't help but send and receive messages through our own subjective lenses. When communicating, one person expresses her interpretation of a message, and the person she's communicating with hears his own interpretation of that message. Our perceptual filters continually shift meanings and interpretations. Remember that game of catch? Imagine it with a lump of clay. As each person touches it, they shape it to fit their own unique perceptions based on any number of variables, like knowledge or past experience, age, race, gender, ethnicity, religion, or family background. Simultaneously, every person interprets the message they receive based on their relationship with the other person and their unique understanding of the semantics and connotations of the exact words being used. They could also be distracted by other stimuli, such as traffic or a growling stomach. Even emotion might cloud their understanding. And by adding more people into a conversation, each with their own subjectivities, the complexity of communication grows exponentially. So as the lump of clay goes back and forth from one person to another, reworked, reshaped, and always changing, it's no wonder our messages sometimes turn into a mush of miscommunication. But luckily, there are some simple practices that can help us all navigate our daily interactions for better communication. 1. Recognize that passive hearing and active listening are not the same. Engage actively with the verbal and nonverbal feedback of others and adjust your message to facilitate greater understanding. 2. Listen with your eyes and ears, as well as with your gut. Remember that communication is more than just words. 3. Take time to understand as you try to be understood. In the rush to express ourselves, it's easy to forget that communication is a two-way street. Be open to what the other person might say. And finally, 4, be aware of your personal perceptual filters. Elements of your experience, including your culture, community, and family, influence how you see the world. Say, this is how I see the problem, but how do you see it? Don't assume that your perception is the objective truth. That'll help you work towards sharing a dialogue with others to reach a common understanding together.
So I would like to know everyone's views on this video, which we've just seen. So individually, let's start with Lucas.
Okay, I can start. This is a very complex topic, as was already stated in the video, especially with regards to communication in teamwork within a team. And this is what I'm dealing with on a daily basis. And to name a few roots, a few causes of miscommunication, one can start with cultural differences and differences in personal definitions. Also from within one culture, because everyone has different background. There's also the matter of withholding information out of sometimes even fear, and there's also maybe related matter of the direction or maybe orientation of the messaging, and I mean more horizontal communication, like member to member within a team, or more vertical communication when there's communication online, supervisor to member or member to supervisor. This is like a different, whole different class of problems as I see it. And I believe at least one of today's participants is going to talk about Generation Z. And as I say it, more and more team managers need to have more understanding for their younger team members, especially during recent years, as I said. So yeah, and some of these problems might be solved by having at least one well soft-skilled team member, I guess, or using some integration techniques. So that's one problem. There's also the matter of team-to-team communication, where miscommunication can lead to redundancy in the work being done. I've seen teams working on something for months and doing the same work without knowing that the other team is doing exactly the same. So they end up having different set of tools because they, of course, share the results of their work, but they not necessarily share the process. So the other team not always have the knowledge of some tools being developed during that process. So that's a whole different problem. So yeah, that's my input on this subject.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you for your opinion. Let's move towards the opinion for Tiandra. I'd like to know your opinion on the video.
Okay, so for me personally, my biggest takeaway from the video is where it talks about how cultural background can affect one perception on how one receives communication. And I think for me personally, as I've studied abroad previously, I think there's this emphasis of knowing between explicit and implicit communications. So I think different cultures have a different way of knowing the other party on how they feel, on how they thought about a certain thing. So for example, simply put, if I were back when I was in the US, if I were to ask a friend of mine to take out the trash, I will directly say to them, please do take out the trash. But then if I were to go to an Asian country, I mean, particularly in my own household, if I were to say, oh, the trash is looking a little full today, my mom can understand the subtle interpretation of that, which means that I would like for her to help me throw away the trash. So I think regardless, so I think about communication itself, I think it's really important to learn the other parties and to be, I think, a little bit culturally sensitive, so we have a better understanding and have, I guess, less miscommunication between the people or the people that we're talking to.
Thank you, Tiandra, for your opinion. Roughly, can we have your opinion on the video?
Yeah, I would like to touch more on the more recent miscommunication problems. So like miscommunication can occur in, of course, different ways and through various sources. There's verbal miscommunication, as we just saw. And though I personally feel like in today's world, it's more often to get miscommunication because of the existence of online. Like I feel that this does not occur as often as messages, such as text messages, emails, and many more. Like through verbal communication, meeting face-to-face can clear many things up because facial expressions, emphasis on sentences or words when talking, pauses as well, the willingness to listen, and a person's true personality can come to light during face-to-face verbal communication. Can also be said though through telephone calls, as this allows the flow of the communication to move smoother compared to that of a text message. Miscommunication often happens if it was in a text form. One simple text or sentence can be interpreted into various amounts of meanings. Just a small mishap, such as putting a comma or a full stop, might change the whole scene. So that's the thing that I got from the video.
Well, thank you for your opinion, roughly. Artemis, can we have your views on the topic?
Yes, of course. First of all, I just want to say I never really thought of communication as something so complex, as it is something that we do like I am doing right now on a daily basis. For me, to keep it simple, the most important thing regarding communication is knowing and recognizing the relationship that you have with the other party. Therefore, you can, let's say if you're talking to a closer friend, you don't really have to think about etiquettes because you guys have a similar understanding. But if you're talking to someone, let's say your boss or someone with like a higher standing and like workspace, I think we need to keep more of our ethics. Also, like what Rafli mentioned, I definitely agree that the online platform has created much more miscommunication than it has in the past. Because another thing that I think is a big issue is that whenever two people have a miscommunication, they tend to tell the people that they know about this problem. Therefore, the story gets mixed up even more. The actual story is not interpreted correctly by more and more people. Therefore, I think if something like this were to happen, it's better to immediately finish and resolve it so that no more people get confused with the problem.
Thank you, Artemis, for your views.
Thank you.
Pavni, can we have your views on the topic?
I would like to talk about, in my view, that I apply to my real life. When I am the speaker, I will make sure people are understanding, listening the words that I say, and I make eye contact and check into make sure that the listener listening and check in with person to make sure that they understood me and clarify anything that the person might be unsure about. That is my view.
Thank you, Pavani, for your views. Daya Savitri, can we have your views on the topic? Hello, Daya. I think they are facing certain technical glitches. Let's have the views from Tanuma Noriko. Okay, Daya is here. Let's have her views on the topic.
Hello, I'm so sorry I can't turn the camera because of the connection.
Okay, it's okay. You can share your views with the audio.
Okay. Based on the video, I can summarize that the cause of the miscommunication, there are first because of unhealthy conversation or competitive conversation. Many conversations can revolve around people trying to one-up each other, impatiently listening so that they can speak. Two, because of psychology of the human. The human mind is quite easily the biggest culprit of the miscommunication. People tend to interpret things negatively and assume the worst case scenario when things get unexpected turn. Then, because of inability to speak or some people are not very good at speaking or writing. And then because of hierarchy, social structure have been known to impact communication as well. Example, supervisor and leaders have communication gap with the subordinate. And then because of the lack of body language, and the way to avoid the miscommunication is think before you speak, then getting the attention of the listener, checking your assumption, checking from the listener to make sure they have understood you, and then follow up with your listener to check that you're communicated right or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Daya. Thank you so much for your opinion. Tanuma, can you hear us? Tanuma Noriko? Okay, I think she's facing some technical glitches. So I would like to thank all of you for sharing your wonderful opinion on the video we presented. And let's start the conference. So I welcome our listeners of today, Colin Devar, Halmorton Hospital, CDHB, Christchurch, New Zealand, and Pierre Henry Landrieu, Experts of Ghana, France. Today's first presenter of the day is Tiandra Aliani, School of Business and Management, Bandung Institute of Technology, Bandung, Indonesia. Topic: Food label awareness and use in packaged food, a case study of Generation Z consumer in Indonesia. You may also read her abstract. Let's see the video.
Greetings everyone, my name is Tiandra Aliani and I'm from School of Business and Management at Bandung Institute of Technology. So today I'll be sharing to you about my research findings about the topic awareness and use of food labels on packaged food product, and this is a study of the Generation Z in Indonesia. So this presentation will be divided into 4 main parts. The first one is need of research, then it's methodology, results and discussion, and the last one with the conclusion of the research itself. So, need of research. The background problem for this research is that there's higher interest in food label information due to the increasing demand for safer and higher quality food. However, there is a significant level of uncertainty when purchasing food products, and as a result, understanding food labels allow consumers to evaluate the product before purchasing it. The previous researches mainly focused on assessing the awareness or use of nutritional value information, such as sugar, fat, and sodium. There have also not been many studies evaluating the influence of demographic attributes on awareness and food label use, as previous research mainly explores the influence of gender in those aspects. To address the gap in the research topic, the study aims to describe the awareness of label elements and the use of label information on packaged food products among Generation Z in Indonesia. To achieve this, there are 3 research objectives being constructed. First is to identify food label elements that are often recognized and food label information frequently used. Second is to examine the relationship between awareness of food label elements with the demographic characteristic. And the third one is to evaluate the association between the use of food label information with the demographic characteristics. The research hypothesis developed and tested in this research from the literature review, which I will not be delving into more details in this presentation due to time constraint, is as follows. So the first hypothesis is that females have a higher awareness of food label elements than males. The second hypothesis is that younger age group demonstrates higher label awareness than the older age group. And the third hypothesis is that females have higher food label information use compared to males. Next is methodology. For the data collection, the online survey will be the primary method, as it can be done remotely due to the respondent's location. The data sample to be studied in this research is Generation Z Indonesia, that fulfills the following criteria. First, their Indonesian nationality. Second, it could be female or male. Third, their age range is between 16 to 25 years old. And fourth is that they have looked at food label information of any food product within the past 6 months. For the data analysis itself, SPSS statistic will be utilized. Specifically, the chi-square test will be used to determine whether a relationship between 2 categorical variables exists based on the distribution of the categorical variables itself. Then the significance level used to reject or accept the hypothesis is a p-value of 0.05. 0.05 is the number that is usually utilized for academic research, and I think for a first-time researcher as myself, this is a standard number that I could rely on. And so what does a 0.05 means? A significance of 0.05 or less indicates a difference between observed and expected value, which means the null hypothesis is to be rejected and the alternative hypothesis can be accepted. And in describing the result, descriptive statistics and inferential statistics will be used. Next is the results and discussion. For important food labels, it is observed that the label elements respondents are aware of are similar to the label information used by the respondents. The same can also be said for label elements with little awareness, as it is also the label information used the least by respondents. So the top label elements that respondents are aware of is product name, expiry date, halal logo, and ingredient list. For the food label elements that is frequently used is product name, expiry date, product type, and halal logo. So now we'll be talking about the relationship between demographic characteristics and food label awareness. The first hypothesis states that females have higher label awareness than males. So it can be assumed that gender might have a relationship with demographic characteristics. The assumptions can be precluded, however, as the study observes no relationship between gender and the level of label awareness, as you can see on this table, as the significance level of gender is higher than 0.05. So when looking at this distribution graph for gender, there's not much difference between the categories. Within the low label awareness category, the number of females is double of that males, approximately. A similar observation is also seen for medium label awareness, as females are double that of males. Although not exact, the distribution of males and females within the high label awareness category are similar. Albeit with the more female respondent in the study, the distribution for females in each category is higher, but they are pretty much the same value compared to the male. So next, the second hypothesis states that the younger age group has a higher awareness level than the older age group. The assumption can be proven true as age is associated with the awareness level among the respondent. So when looking at this graph, a more significant portion of the 16 to 18 years old and 19 to 22 years old age group are classified as having high level of label awareness, with a smaller number of its respondents are classified into having medium label awareness. For respondents between 23 to 25 years old, the majority of the members are pooled with medium label awareness, with only a few people having high label awareness. Now we'll be discussing about the relationship between demographic characteristics and food label use. So the third hypothesis presumes that females have higher label use compared to males. It is believed that gender has a relationship with the level of use of food label information. This assumption can be accepted because the test shows an association between gender and the level of food label use. As you can see on this table, gender has a significant level of 0.037, which is lower than the threshold of 0.05. Now, in relation to the distribution of gender, there seems to be a slight variation between male and females and their level of food label use. For the category of low label use, there are similar distributions among males and females. The distribution is also true for males and females within the medium label use category. However, it is observed that there are significantly more females for the category of high label use than their male counterparts, as can be seen on this graph. So the conclusions for this research: first, brand name, expiry date, halal logo, product type, and ingredient list are the label elements that many Generation Z consumers are highly conscious of, with similar labels used during food purchases. Second, income, religion, and education level do not influence awareness or food label use. Third, age is suggested to influence label awareness, as the younger age group have a higher awareness of label elements than their older counterparts. Fourth, gender is shown to have a considerable influence on the food label use, as females are shown to have significantly higher label use when compared to males. So that is all for my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
My name is Dia Sawitri. I'm a lecturer at the Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Gadjah Mada. I will present.
Thank you, Tiandra, for your wonderful presentation. If anyone has any questions, so you can put it in, you can ask it here to Tiandra related to the topic. And Tiandra, would you like to add anything over there in the video regarding your presentation?
I don't. Well, I don't think so, because I think I presented. Well, I present what I want to present on the video. So.
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Okay, so anybody wants to add any questions over there?
I would like to ask a question.
Yeah, sure.
So what I've seen on the table graphs, that the male participants and the female participants are like, the difference is pretty big, don't you think? But is that self enough to that difference? Is it bothering the, how you say, the flow of the work when you're doing the research, or does it not? Thank you.
Yes, so about the ratio of the gender participants, it does not bother the research itself because based on calculation, I mentioned I did acquired 177 participants with 100 is, well, 100 is, 120 consisted of females and the other 50 is consisted of males. And that does not bother presentation at all because it is about 1:2 ratio between the gender. We'll be talking that it will be a little bit more, it will affect the result of the research. Let's say if I were to have only 10 males compared to 130 females, that will definitely be a problem. But in this case, I think I could sufficiently say that it does not bother the research itself, and that the result is quite credible.
Thank you, Tiandra. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so let's move towards our next participant, the next presenter of the day. Beyond Savitri, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Guyana, Malang, Indonesia. Her topic is the effect of technology-based marketing strategy and service quality as mediation variables on customer loyalty of the main branch of Bank Jati. You may also read her abstract. Let's see her video presentation.
My research at the 7th International Conference on Business, Economics, Law, Language, and Psychology on 3 to 4 August. I would like to present my article entitled The Effect of Technology-Based Marketing Strategy and Service Quality as Mediation Variables on Customer Loyalty of the Main Branch of Bank Jatim. In my presentation, there are introduction, data and methods, result and discussion, and conclusion. Introduction. The development of banking. The development of banking is currently experiencing a significant increase. This change occurs due to the rapid growth and development of technology, information, machinery, and heavy equipment, especially communication technology. And then, bank need a marketing strategy. Bank as financial institution that product in the form of financial service also need a strategy to market their product. According to Kotler and Keller, 2012, the marketing mix strategy, also known as the marketing mix, consists of 4 components, namely product, price, place, and promotion. Service quality is an important evaluation for the company. According to Lovelock and Wright, 2007, service quality is a customer's long-term cognitive evaluation of the delivery of a company. In general, the service provided by good companies will result in high customer satisfaction and very high repeat purchase. Seeing in the increasing level of competition between banks are increasingly competing to get customers by improving service and performance. And then, banks want to have loyal customers. Loyalty is defined as a condition in which a customer has a positive attitude toward a brand, is committed to the brand, and intends to continue purchasing from the brand in the future. Given that customer behavior is very complex and difficult to predict, a basic approach can be taken by the bank by instilling trust and building commitment to its customer. And then, various efforts have been made by Bank Jatim. Various efforts have been made by Bank Jatim to improve marketing strategy and service for its customer. among others, by adding a service network pampering its customer with various forms of service quality that further optimize service product and service attribute offered, and using information technology in every effort to win customer loyalty. The purpose of this research is to find out the effect of the technology-based marketing and service quality as mediation variable on customer loyalty of the main branch of Bank Jatim. Previous research. In 2002, Ramadania showed that loyalty is the goal of the marketing mix. To maintain this loyalty, the company cannot only rely on the satisfaction felt by the customer, but more than that, trust and commitment are the keys of the building loyalty. In 2011, Siddiqui explained that high-quality service helps to generate customer satisfaction. If the real service they feel is the same as expected, then the service quality is declared satisfactory. In 2014, high-quality service helps to generate customer satisfaction if the real service they feel is the same as the expected, then the service quality is declared satisfactory. However, if the real service quality they feel is below what is expected, the service quality is said to be a poor quality. In 2016, Sari and Anggia state that marketing strategy has a positive effect on service quality. And then the service quality affect the customer loyalty. In 2019, Akbar showing that the marketing mix affect customer loyalty, and Panjaitan and Setiorini in 2019 showing that marketing strategies affect customer loyalty. This study used a quantitative approach in an effort to test hypotheses that have been prepared. Then, the sample used in the study was 44 customers. The research was analyzed using PET analysis. This research was conducted at the Bank Jatim main branch as the object of research, namely the customer of Bank Jatim in Surabaya. Result and discussion. In substructure test result 1, show that p-value is less than 0.05, so that technology-based marketing strategy has an effect on service quality. The coefficient of determination of substructure 1 is 0.27. Service quality can be explained by technology-based marketing strategy by 27%, while 73% is explained by other variables outside the model. In substructure test result 2, show that p-value of marketing strategy variable is less than 0.05, so that technology-based marketing strategy has an effect on customer loyalty. P-value of service quality variable is less than 0.05, so that service quality has an effect on customer loyalty. The coefficient of determination of substructure 1, the coefficient of determination of substructure 2 is 0.647. Service quality can be explained by technology-based marketing strategy by 64.7%, while 35.3% is explained by other variables outside the model. Result of analysis of direct, indirect, and total effect from PET analysis. From that, the table show that 1. Marketing strategy has a direct effect on service quality and the effect is positive. 2. Marketing strategy has a direct effect on customer loyalty and the effect is positive. 3. Service quality has a direct effect on customer loyalty and the effect is positive. 4. Marketing strategy has an indirect effect on customer loyalty through service quality and the effect is positive. 5. The total effect of marketing strategy on customer loyalty through service quality is 0.762. Discussion. Marketing strategy on service quality. The results show that the marketing strategy variable has a positive effect on service quality. The company's success in providing quality service can be determined by the service quality approach that has been developed by Parasuraman, Perry, and Zentam in Lopio Adi 2014. One of the important factors that determine customer utilizing the quality of service is the marketing strategy that is applied. It is important for Bank Jatim main branch to have the right marketing strategy with the program or products offered to improve the quality of service so that customer will be satisfied with the quality of service provided by Bank Jatim main branch. This means that in the survival of the company, the quality of service must be considered because customers are one of the keys to the company's success. By providing quality service, it will create a positive perception from customer and will lead to satisfaction after experiencing the service provided. The results of this study are in accordance with in line with SARI 2016, which state that marketing strategy has a positive effect on service quality. Marketing strategy for customer loyalty. The results of this study indicate that the marketing strategy variable has a positive effect on customer loyalty. Thus, relate to the result of this study, the influence of marketing strategy on customer loyalty affect customers' willingness to remain loyal and will not move. Overall, the research result show that one way to face the competition that occurs, the main branch of the Bank Jatim is trying to establish a marketing strategy that is in accordance with customer loyalty so that it can be accepted by customer and prospective customer later. The result of the study are consistent and in line with APRA 2019, showing that the marketing mix affect customer loyalty, and in Panjaitan and Satiorini 2019, showing that the marketing strategy affect customer loyalty. The influence of service quality on customer loyalty. The results show that service quality had a positive effect on customer loyalty. The result of the study confirmed the statement according to Grunrose 2000 in Ciptono and Chandra 2011 that service is a process consisting of a series of activities in fewer or more numbers which normally, but do not have to be continuous, occur in interaction between customer and service from worker, and or physical resource or goods, or from the service provider system, where solutions are provided for customer problem. Where the higher the quality of service provided by the bank to the public, it will have an impact on increasing the loyalty of the bank. The results of this study are consistent and in line with Angia et al. 2016, showing that service quality affects customer loyalty. If the effect of marketing strategy on customer loyalty through service quality. The results show that service quality had a positive effect on customer loyalty. The finding of this study support Grunrose 2000 in Ciptono and Chandra 2011 assertion that service a process consisting of a series of activities in fewer or greater number that normally but do not have to continuous occur the interaction between customer and service provided by work. The higher the quality of the service provided by the bank to the public, the greater the impact on increasing bank loyalty. The result of this study are consistent and in line with Angia et al. 2016, showing that service quality affects customer loyalty. Conclusion. Based on the result of the research and discussion that have been carried out, the following conclusion can be drawn. 1. A technology-based marketing strategy improves service quality. 2. Technology-based marketing strategy have a positive effect on customer loyalty. 3. Service quality has a positive effect on customer loyalty. 4. A technology-based marketing strategy influences customer loyalty by mediating service quality. There are the reference of the research. Thank you for your attention.
Daya, would you like to add something along with your presentation?
Maybe not, because I think the presentation in the video is complete.
Okay. Anyone is having any questions regarding the presentation? Okay, so let's move forward with our next presenter. Our next presenter of the day is Noriko Tanuma, International Business, Bandung Institute of Technology, Bandung, Indonesia. Topic is Digital Wallet Analysis of Users in Daily Life in Indonesia. You may also read the extract. Let's look at her presentation.
Greetings everyone, my name is Noriko Tanuma and I'm from the School of Business and Management at Bandung Institute of Technology. Here I would like to present about my research with the title Digital Wallet Analysis of Users in Daily Life in Indonesia. Here is the overview that I will explain in detail, consists of 6 points as follows. Introduction. Digital wallet as a digital phone in devices have a significant influence on economic development, as shown by the 3% rise in yearly gross domestic product generated by the switch to digital payment systems. The phrase digital wallet refers to a smartphone application used by a user who wants to carry out activities to satisfy their daily needs for transactions. To make the best use of real time, the majority of users across different countries have unique features in terms of each digital wallet application's distinctiveness and privileges. People in the region of Asia utilize this kind of feedback the most of any of the world's 7 continents. This study focused on digital wallet application users in everyday life in Indonesia. According to statistics from the Asian Banker, the volume of transactions utilizing this electronic payment network in Indonesia has surpassed $18.5 billion. Based on the figure above, it can be seen that there is an increase in digital payment transactions, which reflects the growing digital financial literacy of the Indonesian population. Local e-wallet users currently dominate the Indonesia digital payment space. All societies have different purposes for adopting a digital wallet. The presence of promos and discount is a feature that most people take advantage of. Based on survey from WARC, as many as 71% of consumers have digital wallets because of promotions. Due to the availability of various discounts from digital wallets, users are enticed to simply focus on saving money. In reality, it is aimed at the negative sides, causing the majority of customers to grow acclimate to cashless payment methods, which then become a bad habit. It is dangerous to use a digital wallet because if performed regularly, it will result in many risks, including consumers being unable to immediately identify what to order, uncertainty about product information, and even unclear status of legal subjects from business sectors, resulting in a weaker ability to secure data's privacy. Consumers who are less aware of these issues, in particular, will face new concerns later. This study will analyze the upside and downside of digital wallet services. This piqued the interest of researchers who wants to learn about the advantages and drawbacks of utilizing digital wallet in everyday life. In fact, an individual has their own points of view and motives for using the digital wallet service. The following are the 2 things that will be studied in this research. Number 1, to identify and examine what are the benefits of digital wallet application for users in Indonesia. Number 2, to identify and examine what are the issues of digital wallet application for users in Indonesia. Here is about literature review. This chapter discusses the introduction of digital wallet application in Indonesia and the reason for consumers to use digital wallet. The first one is about introduction of digital wallet application in Indonesia. GoPay, OVO, Dana, Link Aja, and Isaku are the top 5 e-wallet applications that are often referenced and utilized among Indonesians in 2020. According to information from the International Trade Administration, the OVO application has a beneficial influence on the Indonesian economy, which is continuously developing due to its cooperation with Grab as a vehicle booking application in e-commerce sector. From second quarter 2019 to 2020, local digital wallet that still dominate in Indonesia include GoPay, OVO, Dana, and Link Aja, according to Fintech News Indonesia. This is because of success of unique features such as promotion and advertising, and the Indonesian government has supported this system to encourage Indonesian people to go cashless when shopping. Since the COVID-19 outbreak, ShopeePay is a new player in digital wallet payments industry in Indonesia. However, according to the data by Kesuma Study, GoPay is a popular digital wallet among Indonesian consumers. This is due to GoPay's capable features, one of which is Gojek Credit, a feature for motorbike transportation services. There are 2 causes for consumers using digital wallet. The first one is about benefits. Mobile wallets are the popular transaction method because of the application capabilities, which include making the purchasing process easier, flexibility since it can be done anywhere, and protection. This study implies that using cashless payments saves time and money. Since each consumer has a distinct life objective, the reason for utilizing a digital wallet varies as well. Second one is about security. Mobile wallet can be used more securely with non-cash payments because no cash is involved in the pocket. Consumers who carry pocket money or physical wallet are the risk since it is difficult to handle a problem when there is no proof of one. According to research, security and privacy restriction, competitiveness, legal framework, integrity, and third-party recognition are all essential elements that impact user trust. Consumers may look for information about company's history using criteria such as whether it is transparent and has a good reputation or image. Methodology. This study uses quantitative and qualitative methods. Survey is used as primary data in data collection methods. This research approach involves target respondents answering a scale of questions provided by the researcher. The purpose of the survey method is to assess how well digital wallets operate from customer perspective. In first stage, the researcher distributes the survey to the intent respondents based on the research objective and the findings of the sample and population. In the second stage, data relevant to the study objective is processed. The third stage is the data analysis stage. In the survey method, the content of questionnaire contains two variables that consist of benefits and security. Each variable has 5 indications as shown in this table. The next is about the population and sample. This study used non-probability sampling, which is a purposive sampling method, by selecting a sample based on certain criteria set by the researcher to conduct the study. In this study, respondents are digital wallet users to utilize in daily life in Indonesia. The population in this study are Indonesian students aged from 15 to above 55 years who have a digital wallet application. The researcher has collected 115 respondents who participate in this questionnaire. Research instrument. In the method of collecting data through surveys, the research instrument used in this study was questionnaire. This questionnaire was prepared by the researcher with reference to the Indonesian e-wallet application. The research instrument is divided into two parts. The first part is a questionnaire containing the demographic data of community. In the second part, based on the purpose of this research, which contains a total of 10 statements, the researcher wants to know about the performance of digital wallet according to the perspective of users. For the following table, this questionnaire used a Likert scale with a number in the form of score. The next is about the result of this research. Based on table 3, the respondents' profile can be classified into 8 attributes. The result of the gender of 550 respondents shows that the majority of respondents were women. In terms of age, the majority aged between 15 and 24 years. Ages between 35 and 44 years were the second majority, followed by the age between 25 and 34 years, 45 to 54 years, and finally age over 55 years. The majority at the highest level of education was bachelor degree, followed by the high school. Almost half of the respondents work full-time, while almost a quarter of the respondents are active students using digital wallet. In annual household income criteria, the majority have income above 5 million. The demographic details shows that the majority of respondents live in Java, and interestingly, there are respondents from Sumatra, which is 4.35%, and Maluku. In terms of religion, the majority are Muslims. This table shows the result of respondents who have a digital wallet and respondents who do not have a digital wallet application. In detail, the minority, 26.09%, do not have experience interacting with the digital wallet application, which means that these respondents have alternative payments methods such as cash, debit cards, credit cards, and so on, while the majority of respondents have a digital wallet. Based on the table above, it can be classified as 4 criteria. In the first part of criterion, the majority of respondents discover digital wallet application from social media. This shows the digital wallet are more effective in carrying out promotions through social media. In terms of second criterion, almost 3/4 have recently used a digital wallet. The majority of respondents reported that they use digital wallets 1 to 2 times a week. Lastly, the majority of respondents frequently orders meals using digital wallet, while some respondents also use digital wallet to purchase credit and pay for household requirements. Interestingly, there were respondents who answered for other purpose, which is 32.9%. Discussion. Based on the frequency distribution of respondents' response to the items in the questionnaire, this study employs descriptive analysis to determine the benefits and the security of digital wallet service. This study used frequency description analysis to identify the frequency, percentage, and other categories. This study creates categories based on the score obtained from the data in the questionnaire to provide the overview of the research result of each variable analyzed. The following is a description of how to define the assessment category in question. Firstly, using the Likert scale as a rating scale, determine the weight of the assessment for each item. Secondly, multiply the weight value by the number of frequencies to get the score for each treatment item. Thirdly, determine the lowest and highest values, the lowest of which is number of respondents in the case of the lower value. On the Likert scale, the highest value is calculated by multiplying the lowest value by the weight of the highest value. Lastly, because each statement in the questionnaire contains 5 options on the Likert scale, there should be 5 assessment categories. The formula below can be used to compute the interval distance. The response of the respondent to the item of benefits variable can be explained using the table. The majority of respondents strongly agree with a score of 375 in regard to the statement X1.1. This indicates that the user can understand the digital wallet application screen well. In addition, this statement is critical to comprehend because if it is not clear when reading the text, it poses a significant danger of data entry mistakes, balance amount, and other issues. Most respondents strongly agreed with the statement in X1.2 with a percentage of 50.59 and score of 376, which is considered very high. This indicates that the majority of respondents are familiar with the characteristic of digital wallet. Furthermore, the respondents seems to have no issue using existing functions, indicating that customer can quickly make transaction and debit money using their smartphone. The majority of respondents strongly agree with the statement X1.3 with 47.06%. This is because they believe that using a digital wallet offline, such as completing purchase at cashier, seems to be simple. The majority strongly agreed with the score of 391, which is classified as very high, according to respondent opinion of the statement X1.4. In comparison with statement X1.3, respondents believe that the transactions process is easier online since it allows more effective payment process online than offline. The majority of respondents agree with the statement X1.5 with the score of 348 categorized as high. This indicates that respondents' experience with digital wallet transaction is excellent due to high time efficiency. Therefore, this benefit variable is categorized as very high with the average value of 368 out of 425. This table is the description of the respondent's response to the security variable. From the viewpoint of digital wallet users, the researcher may infer that the majority of respondents agree with the statement X2.1 with a score of 351, which is categorized as high. The objective of this statement is to demonstrate that the information provided on the screen in each feature and transactions screen has not changed, making it safe to use for customers. There are 30.59% who agree with the statement X2.2 and 27.06% response neutrally. According to the findings of two percentage, some of the respondents' answers are safe while others are neutral. This implies that transactions are not always entirely secure. Interestingly, a considerable percentage of respondents, 18.82%, disagree with the statement. According to respondents to the statement X2.3, respondents who agree are the majority, and the respondents who strongly agree are the second majority, resulting in a score of 365, which is considered very high. This suggests that the digital wallet application's function may be considered safe for respondents to utilize in order to fulfill their daily tasks. The majority of respondents agree with the statement X2.4 because there is a layer of protection on the initial screen, such as asking for a passport or fingerprint to access the applications. The majority of respondents agree with the statement X2.5, however, more select neutral than those who strongly agree. Meanwhile, this is the point of view of those who disagree with the statement. This may indicate that digital wallet application may not provide equal security guarantees for private data protection to all customers. As a result, this variable is categorized as high, indicating that the digital wallet levels of security is decent. However, it should be reconsidered in terms of the security of user personal data and transactions process in order to ensure that they are properly safeguarded. The conclusion for this research is that digital wallets are not only an alternative form of payment, but also play an important role in serving customers. One of them is to fulfill living standards and provide security so that customers can make payment process both online and offline more conveniently. Based on the quantitative description data, it seems that response to the benefit and security variable are very diverse. First, they believe that digital wallets are useful because people can read effectively on the screen display. They believe that the function of these digital wallet apps are easy to understand. Another benefit is that digital wallet make it easier for customers to make payments both online and offline and complete transactions quickly and saving time. As a consequence, the description analysis for these benefits variable shows very high, meaning that the majority of the people are satisfied with the use of digital wallet. Secondly, each respondent has a different perspective on the security variable. According to this part of this variable, the data present on the screen in the application is transparent. In addition, they believe that the features of the app are safe to use and safe to carry to different areas. However, some users believe that the app is not secure enough to process transactions and protect personal information. As a consequence, the description analysis for this variable shows that it is high. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Tanuma, for your wonderful presentation. Would you like to add anything here in the presentation? Any more piece of information if you would like to provide? Okay, I think there are some technical glitches at her end. So anybody, if you have any of the questions, you can put it in the chat box. The speaker will try to answer that there. Okay, let's move forward with our next presentation. Our next presenter of the day is Rafli Darmawan, Faculty of International Management, Institute of Technology, Bandung, Indonesia. Topic: from a niche market to mainstream media, the recent trend of the anime industry. You may read the abstract. Let's see the video.
Hello everyone, today I'll be presenting my research paper titled From a Niche Market to Mainstream Media, the Recent Trend of the Anime Industry. Before we go into the content of the paper, let me first introduce myself. My name is Rafli Darmawan, a student from Indonesia who goes to the Institute of Technology of Bandung, a faculty of School of Business and Management, majoring in International Management, and also ran School of Business via double degree program, majoring in Sales and Marketing. I wrote this paper because of the love I have towards the medium and also my curiosity as to why anime has become a much more accepted topic when I talk to people around me compared to when I was a kid or when I was growing up as well. And so what I'm wearing today, as you can see, it's called batik. Batik symbolizes Indonesian culture, and we wear this during formal occasions such as presentations like these, wedding ceremonies, graduations, and many more. So I will present it like this. We start off by the problem research, the methodology, the outputs of the research or findings, and to finish it off with conclusion. So let's start. So the problem area that has been identified for this research is that the recent growth of their industry has been mind-boggling to the point where it has been considered normal to watch anime as a kid or even as a full-grown adult now. Whereas if the world looks back on the times during the early 2000s, watching or consuming anime is considered to be socially unaccepted by their surroundings, specifically for people going through their preteens and teenage days. During their high school days, those who watch anime are under the impression that they are strange, quirky, a person who has no skill in socializing. Those would be deemed unacceptable by adults. Well, this stereotype exists because people immediately think about anime as that one type of show that is either for little kids, as it is considered a cartoon, or inappropriate to watch because of its vulgar genre that emphasizes sexuality, as said by Sato. So why and how did the industry break through this wall that has been present for a relatively long time? Well, moving forward to more recent times, anime has been labeled as a more normal thing to watch, even though there are still some exceptions for people that still perceive anime as just for kids, or those who watch it are considered to be socially inept. The latter perception has decreased pretty good, while the former has more room for growth. Consequently, anime has also increased in terms of content being exported to the world, making the previously considered niche market into more of a mainstream media. With that being said, there are 3 research questions that are identified, and these are: what are the factors that changed the stereotype for the anime audience? What are the factors that influenced the anime industry to turn into a mainstream media? And how did the anime industry get to this point of fame? To answer the research questions that I've just mentioned, the methodology that is implemented is descriptive and qualitative method. So according to Nosagi, descriptive research is a method that focuses on describing a phenomenon and its characteristics. Its focus will be more on what rather than why or how something occurred. The research will describe information from various sources related to the factors that are affecting the rise of the anime industry. According to Creswell, qualitative method is a method that seeks to identify and explains the meaning that individuals or groups of individuals ascribe to social or human situations. The report of a qualitative study is often lax when it comes to the framework or the structure of it, and about how the data is being collected. This research collected secondary data from various sources via platforms that distribute information such as articles, news, social media, and other types of platforms. The said data will then be further analyzed in order to extract the relevant and necessary information for this research. The mentioned method is known as content analysis. This method is defined as the analysis of the documents and text, whether it is printed or visual, in a systematic and replicable manner, as said by Ryman and Bell. The analysis will be the result of interpreting a compilation of data, and this data have different forms such as table data, social media posts, announcements, news, and etc. After the process of interpreting and analyzing the content is complete, a summary of all the relevant compiled content will be concluded to answer the research questions that have been raised regarding the rise of the anime industry. So the result of the research, by using this methodology that has just been mentioned, can be separated into parts. So one, go international. This happened because of the population of the Japanese themselves are not growing, as in they have a low birth rate and they are also an aging population. According to some data sites, PRB is one of them, states that Japan has 28% of their population over the age of 65, which makes them the oldest country in the world. Because of this, the anime industry restructured their thought process, their way, and go for content that are easily consumed by other culture, specifically for the Western culture. This move is also supported by the macro environment of the world. The presence of streaming platforms makes it more convenient for all parties, as well as more accessible for both distributors of the content and as well for the consumers. Next up is the change in stereotype. The change in stereotype occurred because of one, the attention that it has been getting from the mainstream media. Social media account like Hypebeast, which has 10.5 million followers on Instagram, posted several news regarding the world of anime, covering announcement news of a new season of a show like Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, and many more. Another example would be when Elon Musk saying on the internet, or should I say tweeting on the application Twitter, I love anime, and also went out listing 5 recommendations of anime of all time from his personal opinion. It also made its way to the sports industry with a player from Liverpool Football Club, Ibrahima Konate, posing a gesture from Attack on Titan during the FA Cup semi-final against Manchester City, which they beat them 3-2 and went on winning the FA Cup. And current UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya shown his love towards Naruto on numerous occasions, and also having a tattoo, which is a direct reference from the show. He also shows his love towards it during fights, during press conference, and etc. There are also other big personas such as Zion Williamson, the first pick of the 2020 NBA draft, and also Hollywood actor Michael B. Jordan, that goes more than just showing love to it in public, collaborating with a brand name like Jordan and Coach, respectively, and the show Naruto to create a product which the designs are inspired from it. The industry also got involved with the gaming industry, which is also one of the biggest industry in the world, which brings me to the next point about businesses taking part in this phenomena. There are also SMEs, or small medium enterprises, that dedicate their businesses to making unofficial merchandise that is element from anime shows, whether it's just printed manga or just printed characters in their shirt. Although this does not contribute towards the financial aspect of the anime industry, this however brings more exposure about the show to the public. This research also studies the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, because I personally felt that the amount of people watching anime and accepting anime as just another form of entertainment instead of something to be discussed of happens during this era. So the impacts comes in both positive and negative, of course. We will start with the negative one. So the fan basis of this medium is one of, if not the most passionate fan bases. They have conventions set up throughout the year. These are of course set up officially or unofficially by those who are also in love with the medium. They set up booths in the conventions. They also show up wearing the character's attire to show more love towards it. And well, since conventions are a heavy physical activity, this was cancelled. Other than conventions, this caused a lot of things, from delaying the production schedules, the affection of its domestic as well as its global supply lines. Live events for promotions purposes were postponed right after the government said it was a national level of emergency. Because of fear of the virus, studio recording operations were cancelled and theaters were shut down, which puts theatrical releases on hold, drawing up a critical financial flow for anime firms and investors. Animators also had a bandwidth problem when the employees at home attempted to access corporate computers at the same time. Though the pandemic apparently can also be labeled as a blessing in disguise for the industry as a whole. A huge increase in interest among homebound viewers was noticeable. Netflix says more than 100 million households around the world watched at least one anime title in the first 9 months of 2020, an increase of 50% from 2019. And also Crunchyroll, an anime specialized streaming website, gained 3 million subscribers in less than a year after taking 10 years to reach 1 million subscribers, which leads to other popular streaming platforms such as HBO Go and Netflix introducing more of anime in their catalog on their platforms. So these are the supporting images. As you can see, there is the Demon Slayer announcement from Hypebeast, Ibrahima Konate posing as one of the characters in Attack on Titan, Elon Musk tweeting, and the announcement visual or poster of the Naruto and Fortnite collaborations, which is the show and the video game collaboration. So in conclusion, The change in stereotype is the outcome of the anime industry getting more known, and there are several factors that has hugely contributed to this phenomenon, and these are the macro environment of Japan and the world making it more convenient than ever before. Big personas from various gigantic industries showing love towards it, collaboration with fashion brands, shoe brands, and the gaming industry, local brands creating merchandise inspired from the medium to show more exposure in the public. So to conclude, the identified research question as a whole is to know the change in stereotype as well, why the industry changed for the better. These factors are discovered through secondary data via media and content analysis. It is apparent that the fans itself are the biggest contributing factor. Their persistence to create the medium were accepted in the end paid off. So that concludes the end of my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Rafli, for such a wonderful presentation. Also, would you like to add anything over here?
I don't have anything in mind to add. Thank you, though.
Okay. Okay. Anyone is having any questions regarding the presentation?
I actually have a question, just a simple one.
Yeah.
I think it was in the findings section. Like, what do you mean by easy to absorb contents for Westerners?
Thank you, Artemis, for the question. So the answer would be, well, from the articles and news media that I've read, this is not explicitly mentioned. However, I can say that easy to consume for Westerners are those that have the, you can say, normal superhero tropes of content. It's very easy to absorb for the general audience. You know, the plot lines, characters have a lot of similarities when compared to superhero movies from the, let's say, Marvel Cinematic Universe or the DCEU, and also just normal action Hollywood movies. The anime that I've mentioned, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Naruto, belong in the same genre and demographic in the anime world. And it's no surprise because I've watched those, and I can also say that superhero movies, which took over the world, also belongs in this category. Though I am not one to say when it comes to the psychological factor of the consumer, but as a fan of these mediums, it does feel similar and really easy to absorb. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Rafli, for addressing the question. Anyone else is having any other questions regarding the topic?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, so I think was on the problem area you mentioned about some personas or what outsiders perceived anime watchers as. And I was wondering, what is the relation with these big personas and the change in stereotype that you've mentioned in your presentation?
Thank you, Tiandra, for your question. So the relationship between those two is that these can be these big personas can be labeled as idols for some people, and when you have an idol, of course, you want to be as close as with them as possible. You know, maybe wearing the same shirt, talk with the same attitude, choosing the same career, maybe, and of course, one of them is probably also consuming the same thing as you think, since you think very highly of your idol. And I think because the idols can, well, directly and also indirectly affect how those young people are gonna grow up. So yeah, that's what I think. Thank you for the question.
Okay. Anyone else with the questions? Okay, let's move forward with our next presentation of the day. Okay, the next presenter of the day is Artemis Latifia, School of Business Management, Bandung Institute of Technology, Jakarta, Indonesia. The topic is the effectiveness of content creation on Instagram towards audience engagement for Generation Z. You may also read the abstract. Let's look at the presentation.
Hello, good morning and evening to all the participants of the 7th International
conference on business, economics, law, language, and psychology. First and foremost, I would like to thank you, the committee, for giving me the opportunity to present my findings in this conference. And I hope that everyone that's attending this conference will somewhat find my presentation beneficial for the future. So before I get started, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Artemis Latifia Farijana. You guys can call me Artemis. I'm 20 years old and I come from Indonesia. So I currently go to school at Bandung Institute of Technology and the School of Business and Management faculty, majoring in international business. I have also just finished my double degree program at Rand School of Business, majoring in marketing and sales. So before I get started, I would like to briefly give an overview on what the presentation flow will look like. So first of all, we will be discussing the objective of the research, which is just having a complete understanding on what is the purpose of me doing this research. And then we go towards understanding content creation before we go into the research questions and the methodology. Afterwards, we would go through the questionnaire overview, and then we will go into the findings or results, and then end the presentation with the conclusions. Okay, so the objective of the research is that I wanted to understand the effectiveness that content creation has towards the engagement rate on Instagram, specifically for the target of my research, the specific segment that I'm targeting. In addition, I also wanted to have a deeper understanding towards what are the different factors that can influence the perception that respondents have towards the quality of the content, possessing a deeper understanding whether it's the visualization quality, whether it depends on the grammar quality, or whether or not specific contents are just targeted towards a specific niche market and only those specific people can understand what the content really is about. So that is what we will be analyzing for this paper. In the following slide, I would just like to briefly explain what content creation is. Content creation is when creators supply a media, so notably digital media, with a set of information for the audience. So contents can be divided into different types of content. I have provided 3 different content types, which is fashion and beauty, sports, as well as educational. As you can see that with the screenshots I have provided, these are actually contents that are actually available on Instagram. So to your left, you can see that it is a fashion and beauty content, which can include outfit ideas, mix and matching different color palettes, beauty review or unboxing. That everything that encompasses fashion and beauty content can be put towards this specific segment. And then we have sports related content. Usually sports related content are just live updates of not only the players, but also live matches that are happening constantly. But for this case, this is a sports related content that is tips on how to maintain a healthier lifestyle through running. And lastly, on your right, you can see that it is an educational content. And educational content can be in the form of school or just university like materials, but it can also be in the form of tips. As you can see below that I give, it is tips on whether using Facebook or Instagram ads is better for your specific business. So now we will dive into the research questions. These questions will be answered in the conclusion part of the presentation, therefore notably telling you that all of these are answerable. So the first one is understanding the level of dependence Gen Z has towards social media, understanding the urgency of social media for these segments. And second is knowing the importance of content creation has towards the lives of Gen Z. As you know, Gen Z is born during the digital era of rapid technological advancement. So how important is content for the lives of these individuals? And then we also would like to understand the factors that contribute towards what enhances the quality of a content in the perception of the audience eye. And lastly, we also want to understand what kind of elements that influence an individuals want to share content to their family, their friends, or to just their acquaintances. So that is the scope of the different research questions that will be used for the study. So we would now talk about the methodology, which is what specific analyzing tools that I have used for this specific paper. So before we get started, just understanding that the target segment that I use are Generation Z, meaning these are individuals born between the years of 1997 to 2012. Upon answering the research questions picked, I have decided on the quantitative approach. A quantitative approach, as said, uses the word quantity in itself, meaning that the research requires data in a numerical form, whereas qualitative data needs a more elaborated explanation. An example that for us to understand the difference is that a quantitative research question would be, for example, how many hours do you spend on social media? Whereas a qualitative approach would need more further elaboration, such as what kinds of factors that contribute towards you spending more than 5 hours on social media. That is how you differentiate it. Now, for my specific paper, I also use a questionnaire as the data collection method. So why I choose a questionnaire is because I want to obtain raw data from the respondents directly. And my questionnaire is in the form of a Likert chart. So what is a Likert chart? A Likert chart is a rating scale to understand the perception of each individual has towards certain statements. So an example, just to simply brief it up, is a 1 to 5 for my research. 1 indicating that they strongly disagree with the statement that has been put up, and 5 being strongly agree with the statement that has been put up. That is the methodology, and let's go to the next slide. So just to briefly give you an overview on what the questionnaire looked like for when I send them to my friends, my family, and my acquaintances. So first of all, I give them a brief summary on the purpose of my research, and also making them believe the fact that there would be an anonymous, it would all be anonymous, no private, the privacy is protected, and that everything will be used for the purpose of the study. And to your right, you can actually see just some of the examples of the statements that are used and what the Likert chart looks like for the respondents when they fill in the questionnaire. So moving on to the demographics of the respondents, it is expected, of course, that the big majority of the respondents are people from Indonesia, but I also have some minority coming from different parts of the world, such as the US, Spain, Tahiti, UK, and many more. So actually, for the demographics of the questionnaire is that the female are there's actually more female. 55.6% are female, with 41.9% being male, and only 3 people or 3 individuals prefer not to specifically say their gender. On the other hand, only 11 people are working employees, while the rest of the respondents are actually students. Now we will go into the findings part. Okay, so due to the limited time of the presentation, I will be summarizing 6 variables or parts of this questionnaire. So the first one to your right, you can see it is titled Online Behavior, and it consists of 11 different questions. Based on this part, most of the respondents cannot live without both their gadgets and social media. However, not having their gadgets is more severe than not having access towards social media. The respondents also claim that they understand the benefits of social media or using the internet, but on the other hand, they also understand how dangerous and negative it can impact themselves. And to your right, it is understanding the design as well as the framework that the contents can influence the audience's perception towards it. So what it means is that most of the audience also say that they do not immediately recognize every single detailed design of a content. However, having an eye-catching cover can enhance the possibility of the audience reading the entirety of your content. In addition, a big majority also believes that content should be more simplified for not only the younger generation, but also for the other generation to not have a hard time understanding the contents. So third, we will go into understanding the behavior that respondents have towards contents. First of all of the respondents strongly agree that contents are relevant. Therefore, the purpose of this findings is absolute. So many of the respondents actually use social media for one specific content type. An example would be female 22. She likes fashion and beauty related content. However, it does not limit the fact that she might receive sports or educational types of content in her feeds. However, most of her contents will be about fashion or beauty, depending on what kind of post that she usually likes. The algorithm will be created specifically for her. And on your right is audience involvement, and it consists of 9 statements. A neutral amount of respondents claim that they like almost every single post that they stumble upon. However, the majority of them do not like to comment on accounts that they do not know and interacting with people they do not know. So most of them prefer to just like without commenting, although a minority say that they don't have any problem with engaging with strangers. So the fifth one is quality check on the left, and it only consists of 5 statements. To sum it up, most of the respondents prefer quality over quantity in terms of content, meaning that they prefer for an account to post once or only 2 times a week with good quality, rather than an account posting every day with mediocre quality. And lastly, to our right, this part helps us understand the reason that individuals give feedbacks to account owners. Because 75 respondents actually claim that they strongly agree that feedback should be taken more seriously, as it comes from the people that use the service in itself. Now we will be going into the conclusion part of this presentation. The conclusion is divided into 4 parts. The first conclusion is just the fact that Gen Z are highly influenced by the rapid technological advancements during their childhood all the way to their adulthood life now. Continuous improvements of gadgets and online channels are a big reason why these individuals have a high dependence on their gadgets as well as social media, because their entire life revolves around the advancements of these. In addition, content creation is actually very significant in the lives of Gen Z, as most of them obtain their new information from social media or from the internet. And whether it's a content that's specifically targeted towards them or others, every single content has somewhat relevance. So the third conclusion is that understanding the factors that influence the quality of content starts with the content in itself. What information does the creator want to send to the audience? And it also depends on who the sender is and who the receiver is when an audience would share the contents that they like. And then other than that, the design also matters. Design helps content stood out compared to the other contents that are similar to them. Having perfect grammar is also highly important for the audience to have a better understanding towards the content, especially for the older generation that needs time to process information more than the younger ones. And lastly, Gen Z individuals have a high tendency of wanting to share what they find. In terms of this research, most of the respondents actually prefer to share more positive information, although it does not limit the fact that some of them share negative information to the people. Whether it's gossip or anything, any content can be shared freely on social media if it is not privated. But at the end of the day, keep in mind that since Gen Z has lived through this digitalized era, they know how to differentiate good and bad. They know when it is highly beneficial for them, and they know when it's not highly beneficial for them. So therefore, that is the conclusion of this paper. Thank you so much for all of your attention for my findings. I hope it has some sort of relevance for you, and I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Artemis, for the wonderful presentation. Would you like to add anything along with the presentation? Any more piece of information?
No, I think I summed everything up in my presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone has any questions for Artemis? Okay, so let's move towards our next presentation. The next presenter of the day is Lukas Kodaila, Platforma Biznesu Sezvin, Poland. Topic: GNU Linux Remote Application Launcher Tool enabling screen space manageability. You may read the abstract. Let's see the video presentation.
Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Łukasz Chodyła and I'm pleased to present the results of my team's work at this conference. The co-leading designer of this project was Adam Ziętek, and the project itself, co-financed by the European Regional Development Fund, was carried out by the Platforma Biznesu company located in Poland. The subject of our work was the development of a multi-component platform allowing remote application launching, including screen space, partitioning, and manageability for Linux-based systems. Today I'm going to start by giving a bit of a background on our story, tell you what drove us to conduct the research, what our objectives were, and then briefly discuss the design of the proposed solution. The company has been operating since 2012 and owns many products in the field of digital signage, queuing systems, data processing, or interactive entertainment. When implementing our products, we look for opportunities to innovate. And in the past, our offer included a content management system with which we competed in the market in a traditional way. Traditional here usually means a device with a single application serving full screen content. Content division, if any, is usually handled by this singular application. Changing the type of the content, for example, from weather forecast to a video or to a game, means switching applications or mixing domain-specific features and general-purpose features in one application using the same technology. Another issue that arises from the previous point is the lack of flexibility in extending the system after its installation. This is especially interesting from the business owner or product owner's perspective. The content presented by remote devices needs to be updated, which concerns not only the information itself, but also the presentation method. Any customization involves hiring the original software provider or following strict guidelines regarding the API or technology being used. Outsourcing the application the application development would typically require alternating or updating the current software. On the other hand, using existing, well-known, accessible applications, especially simultaneously on a shared screen, could reduce expansion costs, but this is not common in current market solutions. Also, the content update process can be improved by more efficient bandwidth and storage management. The software update process can be streamlined and secured, especially with multiple applications sharing same dependencies. Okay, our objective. The main objective is multi-application remote management. It means running different applications, providing different functionalities without being limited to a specific technology, such as programming language, set of libraries, or framework, or else. This is quite a bit conceptual change, because there are frameworks for just launching applications, just running processes, but we're breaking the traditional pattern from an application serving content to the design of an entire system serving applications. This implies mapping the visual layer onto physical screens. In other words, we want to allow multiple full screen applications to be run at the same time on a partition screens. There is also the matter of hardware acceleration and hardware access, because we never wanted to use operating system virtualization in the process, so we wanted to enable all running applications to access hardware resources such as GPU or GPIO. And besides that, we were focused on independent updates and process separation, reliable software upgrades, and zero operation version switching that I will be talking about in a minute. The project was launched in 2017. To this day, the key objectives have not changed. There are a few solutions on the market that address individual problems we have identified, but there is no comprehensive solution such as we have developed over the last 5 years. The change of approach from an application serving content to a system serving applications generates many new challenges such as maintenance, updating, security, and convenience of use. However, it also opens up a huge field for innovation and research. I will be presenting a collective of several components, each of which has been or is the subject of separate research. This presentation is intended to give a general perspective of what the components are and how they work together. We mainly examined the Xorg implementation, X Windows Server, with a number of window managers, including our own extensions, and the Wayland server with our implementation of the Desktop Composer. Among others, technologies such as Qt4, Qt5, GTK, SDL, Python tag have been tested to determine typical working patterns and also metadata useful during the process. Our work mostly results in a set of methods solving given classes of problems and in a collection of constraints drawn during experiments. For example, although studying the papers and articles may point to Wayland as a modern and ideal solution, practical experiments have shown a lack of readiness for production applications, at least in our case, some difficulties in portability, and lack of full backward compatibility with applications written for Xorg server, even when used with X-Wayland extension. All this combined in the implementations of the components working together creates a system that meets our original requirements. Okay, here's a very simplistic block diagram with abstraction layers or communication modules cut out. I'm going to briefly cover the three main parts here. First part is the layer composer. The layer composer is started at the system boot stage. It assembles the system image at the file system level, so without any file operation, without moving or copying files. It can run tests, and it decides how to save or how to write files, whether it will be RAM or persistent memory. These are the layers we send when we are updating the software or installing new applications. All layers except the top one are read-only, so any damage can be easily undone. Also, with overlay FS, which we're using in our implementation, it's also possible for one layer to make a file from a lower layer disappear, and ultimately it will look like the file has been deleted. This is actually a broad scope and the subject of separate ongoing research. The result will be published and the implementation will be released as an open source software. If you are interested in this aspect in particular, please feel free to contact us. Next, we have the system service, of which the main components are the process execution and process tracking module and the window mapping module. In short, here we use inter-process communication to handle window drawing events and create virtual displays for full screen applications to trick them a bit and control screen partitioning. At runtime, a map identifying processes, forked processes, because process can fork itself after being launched, is built to connect the signals from the windows to the original processes. In addition, which is not visible on this diagram, there is an interpreter and executor of special rules defined both at the time of application installation and content update. These rules are often empty, but one of the goals was to be able to outsource application development without imposing strict standards. So in this case, even if someone implements the application in some bizarre way, far from what we consider a standard, such a rule can, for example, match an expression from the window title with a process ID. So we know where it should be drawn on the screen. In this way, we don't have to re-implement the way different applications are handled. The last part is the application data cache management component. And the issue here is the frequent uploading of files, often the same and large files used by applications at long intervals. For example, videos with advertisements or exhibition promotions interleaved with something else like news of the day. Traditionally, we were using a first in, first out model and deleting the oldest file, but it was obvious we could do better. So what this module does is firstly collect information about files, and this is not a separate application, it's a file system. So there's no periodical checks or any watchdog. It's file system doing it on its own. So what it does is, among other things, it knows when the file was opened, whether it was changed or just read, and for how long it stayed open. Then when new data arrives, each resource is evaluated according to a preset formula, and when the quota is exceeded, the resource with the lowest score is removed. So the evaluation formula depends on the use case, and it can be, for example, the size of a file divided by the total time it's been in use. Then large files are preferred, but a small file being in use all the time can outrun them. The main advantage of this approach is that it's independent of how the file ended up on disk. It could be uploaded to an HTTP server, it could be synced from the cloud, or it could be copied from an USB drive. Okay, current state. Over the past few years, many of the key components have been implemented where we previously used a traditional approach. We've seen significant productivity gains while reducing costs, and the system as a whole or in selected parts can be used in single or multi-device systems based on Linux. And as we believe, the proposed solution can also benefit schools and public facilities, especially layer updates and the file system level resilience. A student may delete any system file experimenting, as everything will be undone upon reboot, or stored as a separate layer for example, teachers' review. Okay, so that's where we are today. Thank you for your attention, and I encourage anyone interested in working with us to contact us at the address now visible on the screen.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lucas, for such a wonderful presentation. Anyone else has any questions to ask to Lucas about the presentation? Also, Lucas, would you like to add anything along with the presentation?
I can only emphasize, if it wasn't stressed enough in the presentation, that the results presented here have triggered other independent projects that are still ongoing, either for encourage any person interested in cooperation who comes across this presentation or the recording of this conference to feel free to contact us anytime. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Questions? Okay, let's move forward with the conference. So our last presenter of the day is Pavini Pokrak, Faculty of Engineering, King Mongtuk's University of Technology, Thonburi, Bangkok, Thailand. Her topic is development of a topical gel containing a peptidase for inhibitor for wound healing applications. You may also read her abstract. Let's look at her presentation.
Thailand. I would like to present development of a topical gel containing a dipeptidase for inhibitor for wound healing applications. This thesis is a collaboration between Faculty of Chemical Engineering of King Mongkut's University of Technology, Thonburi, and Faculty of Medicine, Salient Hospital. This presentation is divided into 5 parts: introduction, objectives, methodology, results and discussion, and conclusion. Let's begin with introduction. Definition of wound is disruption of the integrity of skin, mucous membrane, or organ tissue. The wound is classified as acute wound and chronic wound according to the duration and nature of healing process. Acute wounds result from unexpected accidents or surgical injuries and heal at a predictable time. On the other hand, chronic wounds, which are mainly resulted from burns, diabetic ulcer, and leg ulcer, do not heal in a fixed period of time. Chronic wounds remain a major challenge in healthcare around the world and have significant financial implications. Therefore, the development of wound management devices has been studied. Carbopol is one of hydrogel which has been extensively utilized as a primary medication carrier for transdermal usage. It has the advantage of high viscosity, high compatibility with other drugs, good thermal stability, and excellent tissue compatibilities. Currently, Carbopol is used as a gel base in many wound healing gel. Therefore, 0.5% Carbopol start to be used to form a gel. Sitagliptin is one of dipeptidase 4 inhibitors, which is widely used for patients with type 2 diabetes due to their effectiveness in controlling blood sugar level. Sitagliptin not only maintains the homeostasis of the blood sugar levels, but also has wound healing effects according to long study. Therefore, sitagliptin, which is the selected DPP4 inhibitor, was studied. Mathematical modeling in drug delivery helps to understand the release behavior and predict the mechanism of drug release of complex pharmaceutical dosages. There are 4 kinetic models which used to describe the overall release of drug from the polymer in this study, including zero order, first order, Higuchi, and Cosmere papers. Next part is objectives. First, to demonstrate characterizations of a topical gel. Second, to determine the in vitro release of sitagliptin from Carbopol. Third, to develop a mathematical model to predict the cumulative release of sitagliptin from Carbopol. Fourth, to demonstrate stability of sitagliptin in Carbopol. And finally to demonstrate applications of the gel onto subcutaneous wounds on experiment topics. Next part is methodology. The first part is gel preparation. Sitagliptin and carbopol were dissolved in water, then stirred until a homogenized gel formulation was obtained. After that, triethanolamine was added to neutralize the pH. Physical characteristics were studied by visual observations and rheometer. Next part is swelling and degradation. The surface of the topical gel was incubated. Then the surface medium was discarded and the weight of the remaining gel was recorded in each time point. Fresh water was added to the vial before placing it back into the incubator. Next part is in vitro drug release study. A topical gel containing 3 concentrations of sitagliptin were incubated with phosphate buffered saline at pH 7.4 and 37 degrees Celsius to simulate wounds using dialysis tubing. The absorbance of the collected samples was measured using a UV spectrophotometer. The cumulative release data were fitted to 4 commonly used kinetic models, including zero-order, first-order, Higuchi models, and Cosmic papers. The coefficient of determination was used to access the fit of the experimental data to the kinetic model equations. Next, stability test. The topical gels in glass vials were kept at 4 degrees Celsius for 1 week, 2 weeks, and 1 month after formulation. The gel was recorded weight, pH, and percent of content, and observed the characteristics of the gel at each time point. Finally, topical gels containing sitagliptin at these concentrations were directly applied to subcutaneous wounds on experimental pigs every other day for 3 weeks to investigate the characteristics and effect of the gel on the skin compared to other types of the gel and cream. Next part is results and discussion. For characteristics of gel results, from figure 4a, the appearance of the gel is clear, transparent, and steady. After 24 hours, the diameter of the gel slightly decreased from the starting point, but greatly decreased at the end, because the gel would be dyed. For figure 4b, the gel clearly dissolved in water after 24 hours, as shown by the increased diameter. However, the gel was still visible. At the end, the gel completely dissolved in water. From figure 5, increase in pH caused an increase in the shear strength of the gel. The shear strength increased as the shear rate increased, indicating shear deadening pseudoplastic behavior. Therefore, the gel could flow easily when the shear force was applied to the gel on the wound, but remained firm when at rest, allowing the gel to stay on the wound for longer periods. The gel could hold its shape when absorbed rather than dissolved into the wound exudate. For swelling and degradation results, at the beginning of the incubation, swelling of the topical gel was observed because water diffused into the matrix of carbopol, which is hydrophilic polymer. After that, the polymer network expanded upon relaxation. The swelling kinetic of the gel follows zero-order kinetics with high R-square value. The highest percent swelling of the gel was 250% at 48 hours, which would be sufficient for the hydrogel to absorb wound exudate. After 72 hours, the gel gradually degraded and dissolved in water and then completely degraded at the end, following zero-order kinetics. Next part is in vitro drug release study. The cumulative percentage drug release of sitagliptin increased with increasing concentration due to a higher concentration gradient between the drug and release medium driving more drug molecules into the receiving medium. The topical gel was able to release more than 80% of the initial concentrations. Most of encapsulated drug was released until 8 hours, and then the drug release clearly shows slowed down after 24 hours. All the drug content was not completely released because the equilibrium had probably been reached, resulting in a significantly small amount of drug release, which could be considered as no drug release. The concentration gradient of the drugs was high between 0 and 8 hours, resulting in high diffusion. The model fitting was conducted using the release data between 0 and 8 hours because the drug was mostly released at this time point, and the cumulative percent of sitagliptin released between 8 and 24 hours was not different. From the previous data, the cumulative release data were fitted to 4 commonly used kinetic models, as the triple 4, or concentrations of sitagliptin follow the first-order model, as indicated by the highest R-square compared to the other models. Therefore, the rate of release depends on the concentration of the drug in the gel. That is, the higher the drug concentration, the faster the release. Next is stability results. According to figure 8, the gel showed clear, transparent, no phase change, and steady, and bubbles have been decreasing at specified time intervals for both gel with and without paraffin. Figure 9b and figure 9c showed weight and pH of the gel for with and without paraffin are comparable. And the results do not change after 1 month, indicating the environment of the gel is stable at 4 degrees Celsius. However, the percentage of the drug content from figure 9a decreased with time, possibly because there is no addition of preservative. Moreover, the gel cannot be kept in solid form, which leads to drug degradation, since solid dosage forms are more stable than liquid dosage for presence of water. The last one is applications of the topical gel in vivo. From figure 10, the topical gel containing sitagliptin has been shown to exhibit the desired spreadability and higher moisture around the wound area compared to intraocular gel and silver nanoparticle cream. However, the topical gel degraded after 2 days, while others still appeared on the wound. The degradation of the topical gel on an actual wound was faster than the degradation result carried out in an in vitro setting. The faster gas degradation rate in vivo might have been caused by the enzymes present in the wounds, leading to the combination of physical degradation and enzymatic degradation. In addition, there was no inflammation or infection around the wound area after applying the topical gel at both concentrations for 21 days, as shown in figure 11. Therefore, a topical gel with sitagliptin is desirable for chronic wound healing. The last part is conclusion. In conclusion, sitagliptin was successfully loaded in carbopol. In terms of characterizations, the topical gel was clear, transparent, uniform, and steady, and exhibited shear thinning pseudoplastic behavior. In addition, the gel could absorb up to 250% of the liquid within 2 days, which is desirable for absorption of exudates. After that, the gel degraded. In the in vitro release assay, the gel was able to release more than 80% of the initial concentrations after 48 hours at all sitagliptin concentrations. The kinetic release of sitagliptin from carbopol was best fitted with the first order model, which was dependent on the concentration of the drugs. For stability tests, the weight and pH of the topical gel were stable at 4 degrees Celsius for more than 1 month, while the drug content slightly decreased, perhaps because of drug degradation. Finally, the gel was applied directly onto subcutaneous wounds on experimental pigs. The topical gel showed the desired spreadability, high moisture compared to others, and degraded after 2 days. Moreover, there was more inflammation around the wound area after 3 weeks. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Pavani, for such a wonderful presentation. And also, if you would like to add anything along with this presentation, any words?
I would like to tell that there have not been any studies that apply sitagliptin directly to the wound to study its effect on the wound healing or formulate them into topical gel. So I studied this stuff in my research.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions to ask Pavani, also you can post your questions in the chats and the speaker will try to answer it over there. Okay. So thank you so much, all of you, for being so patient and for With great pleasure and enthusiasm, I would like to conclude that the conference was a great success. Many people have contributed in different ways to turn this event into a smoothly running conference with very interesting presentations. This conference has resulted in good discussions and networking. I owe my gratitude to all the presenters and patient listeners, to the coordinators and the whole staff of Eurasia Research for their constant support. I would also like to thank all the universities and institutes who have sponsored our participants and people who have directly or indirectly contributed in the smooth conduct of this conference. Also, we have our upcoming conferences. Eurasia Research conducts conferences around the world, and you can have a look at the upcoming conferences. Also, I would like to share a piece of information with all of you that we have also launched a free of cost for all teaching and education summit for all researchers, practitioners, students, educationists. Till now, we have conducted 3 summits successfully, and the 4th summit will be conducted on 16th of August, 2022. Also, you may get certificate for summit by paying USD 55 only. Thank you. Okay, so I would like to know all of you individually. I would like to know your views about today's conferences. Let's start with Lucas.
Yes, first of all, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to listen to such interesting presentations today, and that I was able to present the results of my own team's work. And what else? My team and I will most certainly consider publishing our further progress in future editions of this conference. So yeah, I'm happy to meet you all today. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. Roughly, your views about today's conference?
First and foremost, I would like to thank the committee for allowing me to present my research, and also it's been a very interesting and beneficial presentation that I've heard from all of the participants. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Rafli. Artemis, your views about today's conference?
It's very interesting because there are some topics that I have no knowledge of, and I feel like I maybe know more about those certain stuff. And also thank you for allowing me to present in this conference. That's all for me.
Okay. Tiandra, please express your views about today's conference.
Yes, so also thank you for the committee for organizing this conference. I learned a lot from fellow researcher from different disciplines, and there are also, you know, as a first-time researcher myself, I was able to look at, I could say, the older researcher, you know, ways of presenting, and just to, I guess, in general, how they've done their research, and it's a very insightful presentation. So yes.
Thank you, Tiandra. Pavani, would you like to share your views about today's conference?
I'm glad to be here in this conference and listen interesting research. And thank you for allowing me in this conference.
Thank you, Pavani. Tanuma, would you like to share your views about today's conference? Maybe there are some technical glitches. Okay, Daya, would you like to share your views about today's conference?
Yes, thank you for all the committee and the presenter of this conference. I'm happy to join this conference because there are various topics of the article that have been presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Daya. Okay, so thank you all of you for being here and being patient listeners and such wonderful presenters. Thank you.